So this evening we have a Samanera ordination, also known as Papaja, or going forth. So I'll invite Anagarika RJ to come up now. And he'll be starting with some preliminary chanting, which I'll go into explaining in a little bit during the ceremony. So yeah, you can go ahead and begin.
Oka sawandami bante, sabang aparadang kamatame bante, maya katang punyang samina anumoditabang, samina katang punyang mayhantatabang, sadhu, sadhu, anumodami. Oka sakarunyang katawa, Papa John Deta Me Bante.
So at this point, I'll check your robes, make sure everything is here. And so we've done this before the ceremony already, so it looks like everything is good. I hand these back to you.
Aham Bante, Papa Janya Chami, Tutiyampi Aham Bante, Papa Janya Chami, Tatiyampi Aham Bante, Papa Janya Chami, Sapadukani Sarana, Nibbana Sachikaranataya, Imanka Sawanga Hetwa, Papa Jeta Mang Bante Anukampang Upadaya Sabadukani Sarana Nibbana Sachikaranataya Imanka Savanga Hetwa Papa Jeta Mang Bante Anukampang Upadaya Sabadukani Sarana Nibbana Sachikaranataya Imanka Savanga Hetwa Papa Jeta Mang Bante Anukampang Upadaya. Sabadukani Sarana Nibbana Sachikaranataya Etanka Savang Datwa Papa Jeta Mang Bante Anukampang Upadaya Sabadukani Sarana Nibbana Sachikaranataya Etanka Savang Datwa Papa Jeta Mang Bante Anukampang Upadaya Sabadukani Sarana Nibbana Sachikaranataya Etanka Savang Datwa Papa Jeta Mang Bante Anukampang Upadaya.
Okay, you can sit comfortably. So these are the robes of the Samanera that you've just offered. It's the Jiwan, the Sabong. This is the Jiwan. The Sabong is the lower robe. Belt, only the bhikkhus have the Sangati, so as a novice you wouldn't yet have that. And then we've got your sitting cloth and angsa cloth here. And just a translation of what you just chanted is Ahang Bante Papajang Yachami, Dutiyampi and Tatiyampi Ahang Bante Papajang Yachami. That's out of compassion, grant me the going forth. For a second time, for a third time, please grant me the going forth, which is the Pabaja, or the Samanera ordination, novice ordination. And then that phrase, Saba Dukkha Nisarana Nibbana Sachikaranataya Imang Kasawang Gahedwa Paba Jetamang Bante Anukampang Upadaya. That's to cross over all dukkha in order to realize Nibbana. Taking these robes, please, Venerable Sir, out of compassion, grant me the going forth. And you chanted that 3 times and then gave me the robes. And then the next part is the same chant, except having taken these robes out of compassion to cross over all dukkha and realize Nibbana, having taken these robes out of compassion, grant me the going forth. So it's a very short but very powerful chant, very powerful ceremony. And the next part of the ceremony is that I'll be giving you what's called the Mula Kammatthana, the 5 basic meditation topics, and that's to meditate upon the hair of the body, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And these are just very ordinary things, and it might seem strange that you meditate on these very ordinary things in order to cross over all dukkha and realize Nibbana. But actually, in the Buddhist teaching, you do just contemplate these very ordinary things. Hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin are what is visible on a human being. And so more than that, we have the 32 body parts, the internal organs and whatnot, but just contemplating those external things is enough to get a good start, to get a good grasp of the practice of the mindfulness of the body, which is a huge hallmark of the Buddhist teachings. So, and then these robes are also part and parcel of that body mindfulness, body awareness, body contemplation. You'll be wrapping your body in these robes, and the robes will come into contact with the body, and their state changes in various ways based on coming into contact with those 5 things: hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And so then as you're wearing these robes, then you try to keep that contemplation, keep those 5, what we call kammatthana. Kammatthana means the basis for practice. Kama literally means action, but it can also mean work. So thana is foundation or basis. So the mula is the root. So the mula kammatthana is the root practices or the root meditation topics. Kammatthana is a difficult word to translate from Pali. There's a Longpar Band translation that I was working on, one of the newer books, and he relates a story of these old meditation masters, these greats that we hear about, Tanjau Kun Dhammachetty, Jiao Kun Upali, Longpu, Gongma, and a few others, one day in the old days, way in the past, having a Dhamma discussion about how to translate kammatthana. And actually, the translation they came up with was kammatthana means living in the monastery. So just living in the monastery, these practices come to the forefront. Just living in the monastery, doing the daily schedule, these practices become a part of you. So I thought that's quite brilliant, actually, that kammatthana is defined as just living in the monastery. So before I give you these robes to go put on, then I will have you repeat after me these mula kammatthana, these 5 meditation topics in forward and reverse order. So you can repeat after me. Kesa, Loma, Nakha, Danta, Tacho, Danta, Nakha, Loma, Kesa. place this first brown cloth on you to symbolize your going forth. And you can take these robes and put them on. It's a little pores. So while RJ is putting his robes on, it takes a little while to get used to putting these robes on. And for anybody who's watched the monks put their robes on, we have this style of rolling the robe and taking it down and flipping it over our shoulder. And for me, it's just automatic after so many years of just doing it. But then to teach somebody, it's pretty complicated putting these robes on. It's kind of, okay, I have to start with rolling the robe, and you develop that muscle memory. At first, the hands just don't have the right muscles to kind of roll the robe properly. And so I realized, oh yeah, I had to learn that so long ago as well when I became a novice in 2002. And rolling the robe, and then once the robe is rolled to a certain, about an arm's length from the body, then you have to take your left hand and take the roll and lift it up, and kind of take your right hand and roll the rest of the robe in. Then you have to take it down and kind of bunch it up against your shoulder and then flip it over your shoulder. And so it takes some getting used to. And there's the two ways of wearing the robe that we've had to train RJ in with his we had some practice sessions before this, so he's not just completely going into it blind. But actually, the one shoulder style is in the monastery. We wear the robe just with one shoulder exposed. And then outside of the monastery, you wear the robe over both shoulders, and it's a bit of a different style. So when we go alms round, we will have the robe over both shoulders. And so like we did the alms round in Ukiah, Redwood Valley, Fry Vineyards, West Road today, having our robes over both shoulders. And when the robes are over both shoulders, then the bowl is placed, the strap of the bowl is placed under the robe on top of the shoulder, so you won't see the bowl strap, but you'll just see the bowl poking out from under the robe when we're on alms round. And we're trained to have the robe just halfway over the bowl, so the robe isn't completely over the bowl, and the bowl isn't completely exposed, but we have the robe halfway over the bowl, and that's to show that that's the right livelihood aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path for monks, is we learn that if we were to have the robe not on the bowl at all and the bowl just out, that's more like hinting, like, hey, come on, give me some food. And but if we have the robe completely hiding the bowl, it's kind of like backing off too much, like no, please just don't give me anything. So having the robe halfway over the bowl, it's like saying, oh, if you would like to practice generosity and I'm available, that's fine, but it's also okay if you don't want to give. So robe halfway over the bowl is to symbolize that. It's similar if we're walking on these Tudong walks in America, where it's not like in Thailand you could walk through any village and they know what the monks are doing. They could give the alms food. But in America, we sometimes have to stand outside of a supermarket, stand outside of Safeway, for example, and we do something similar to that robe halfway over the bowl, where we stand neither too close to the entrance of the supermarket nor too far away. If we're too far away, nobody will know what we're doing, and they won't think we're seeking alms food. But if we're too close, it's kind of like too in your face. Like if we were just standing right at the entrance with everybody walking next to us, going in and out, it would be like too pushy. So we stand a little bit away, but not too far away. So it's like if people see us and want to interact with us, they can. If people don't want to interact with us, they can just walk by and ignore us. That's fine too. So all of these subtleties we start to learn with putting the robes on. It does take quite a bit of time to get used to, but also I know that for the first time I put on my novice robes, I had a feeling they were quite powerful, that there was quite a powerful tradition, quite a powerful lineage that I was becoming a part of. And it was quite striking to me, and I didn't really expect that when I first put the robes on. But yeah, when I first was practicing putting them on, when I was still in Anagarika, there was that sense of power, of lineage. That's very special. And also for the novice ordination and also for the bhikkhu ordination, we tend to tie a sash around the robe so that it doesn't fall off, because getting used to the robe is hard enough, and then having to bow in the robe is even harder. The shoulder roll will tend to fall off before we really kind of get used to it. So that for that reason we'll have him. We'll have RJ tied in a sash, in like a bow, for the ordination. Another thing about novice ordination, we follow this Longpo Cha standard of having people become Anagarikas first, and this isn't what's normally done at Thai monasteries. In Thailand, usually they'll have them be an Anagarika for just right before the ordination ceremony. So people who are, say, doing temporary ordinations or ordaining at village temples, the ordination would just happen very quickly. Either you'd go straight into novice or straight into bhikkhu, and you're only an Anagarika, and it's a symbolic thing where you're an Anagarika just briefly beforehand, and then you become novice and then bhikkhu very quickly. But in the Ajahn Chah tradition, Ajahn Chah started that Anagarika ordination, that you're an Anagarika, you're wearing white for quite a bit longer, and then you're a novice also for longer. And there's a few reasons for that. One of the reasons you become an Anagarika longer is that, say, RJ's been the kitchen manager for 9 months, I believe, and done a very good job of it. And so that's serving the community, making meals for the community, managing others, making meals for the community. And so there's that sense of, then when you ordain and you receive all of that, you know exactly how much work it takes, you know what kind of effort people put into providing us with food, providing the Sangha with food, and then don't take it for granted. So if we were to ordain right away, we might think, oh, well, hey, this is great, food is just appearing. And it's like, we reflect that it takes a lot of work to bring food, and then we develop a real sense of gratitude for the generosity of others. It's so we don't want to be like Venerable Anuruddha before he ordained. He was so well off that he didn't want to ordain with all of his friends who were ordaining under the Buddha. And his relatives said, "Do you even know where food comes from?" And he said, "Yes, it comes from the plate." So then they had to teach him about farming. And they said, "Well, when we all ordain, you're going to have to look after this farm, and this is what it entails. And your grandparents died and their work was left unfinished. Your great-grandparents died and their work was left unfinished. And it'll be the same for you. You're going to look after this farm and the work is never finished." And he said, "Okay, I think I'm going to ordain, actually." So when he realized that food doesn't just come from the plate. So he went off with his friends and ordained. from that recollection of things don't just occur automatically. All the food that we eat, the food that we're offered, takes a tremendous amount of work and all sorts of causing additions coming together. And people are very happy to support us, very happy to offer to the Sangha. But it's also it's good for us to develop that sense of gratitude and appreciation, and that the Anagarika Ordination tends to drive that home for people. Another thing we say about the Anagarika Ordination, which was taught to me, is that when you're in Anagarika for long enough, then you get well cooked. So when you work in the kitchen long enough and you undertake all the tasks of the Anagarika, you get well cooked, and then when you're well cooked, you turn brown. So then you become a novice. You're ready to become a novice when you're well done in the kitchen. And another change is when RJ comes back, he'll be taking the 10 precepts. So that's, and I'll explain a little bit about that later. That's a upgrade from the 8 precepts. So actually the 7th precept gets split into 2, and then the 10th precept is the relinquishment of money, not to accept or use money. So really fully becoming dependent on the monastery, becoming a full alms mendicant, and training in that form. Okay, so far so good. Okay, you can continue with the precept request. I don't think you have to lift up all those trays at the same time. You could probably just lift up the heavily laden with trays. So you'd be holding that one while you do your chant. Yeah.
Oka Sawandami Bante Sabang Aparadang Kamatame Bante Maya Kadang Punyam Samina Anumodita Bang Samina Kadang Punyam Mayang Databang Sadhu Sadhu Anumodami Oka Sakarunyam Katwa Pabajeta
Tisaranena saha.
Pabajeta Tisaranena Saha
Silani data me.
Silani Deta Me Bante.
Okay. You could offer the other one also. And then a hung bun, and then bow 3 times, then a hung bun.
Aham Bante Saranasilang Yachami Dutiyampi Aham Bante Saranasilang Yachami Tatiyampi Aham Bante Saranasilang Yachami.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Yamahang vadami tang vadehi.
Okasa amabante.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Ti saranakammanang nititang.
Okasa amabante.
Panatipata veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Brahmacharya veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya majapamadhatana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Suramerya maja pamadatana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Nacha gita vadita visukadasana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Nacha gita vadita visukadasana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Malaganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Malaganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Jata rupa rajata patikahana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Jata rupara jata patigahana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Imani dasa sikapadani samadhiyami.
Okasa amabante. Imani dasa sikapadani samadhiyami. Imani dasa sikapadani samadhiyami. Imani dasa sikapadani samadhiyami.
Okay, you can sit comfortably again. When I was taking the Anagarika ordination and I couldn't yet sit on my toes, Longpa Pasano told me it's a form of Buddhist torture to sit on your toes for so long. But and I did in your Anagarika ordination. I think I told you you'd get used to it after a year, but sometimes people don't get used to it. It might take longer. Everybody's body is different. But so you've now taken on the 10 precepts, so you're now a novice. So the precepts, you're familiar with them already. The first precept, panatipata, to refrain from taking life, refrain from killing. And so you're taking that precept, reinvigorating that precept that you've already been keeping. And the adina dana, the refraining from taking what is not given. that's going to be a little bit more highlighted now, because as an Anagarika, you can still use money, you can still buy things. Now you're more dependent. So you're dependent on the steward organization, Sangapala Foundation, which looks after Abhayagiri, and also dependent on just the community here, and for any of your basic requisites, basic needs. And even though you can still give offerings, so you're not bound by the bhikkhu rule of only being able to receive offerings. You can actually just pick something up, but for the most part, you're going to be very dependent now. You'll be able to rely on the alms round now, and go alms round and learn that skill. The third precept of brahmacharya, that's the brahmajan, the brahmacharya of the celibacy. So you're already familiar with that, and it's just wearing the brown robes is a deepening of that commitment, not engaging in any form of sexual activity in any way. And our order, our tradition has actually, even though we're a bunch of guys who've just trying to do our best, we do have some of the strictest rules of celibacy out of any religion in the world. So it is a big deal, and you learn the skills of learning how to deal with these basic instinctual energies, and as time goes on, learning more and more about that, and using the Buddha's teachings, using the Dhamma teachings to deal with it in various ways as things come up. Musawada, the refraining from false speech, refraining from lying, cultivating honesty, integrity, moving forward. The Sura Meraya, which is the refraining from intoxicants, specifically refraining from alcohol, but any form of drugs, intoxicants, and developing a very clear mindfulness, clear awareness as you practice. Vikala Bhojana, that's the eating at the proper time, so between dawn and midday is the proper time, and you're already familiar with that one as well from being an Anagarika. And then the seventh precept has actually been broken into two, so it kind of makes sense, and for whatever reason that's lost to history, this is when people take the 8 precepts, it's just in one precept, and when you take the 10 precepts, it splits into two. But it does kind of make sense in that the first part of that precept, Nacha Gita, Wadita Visukadasana, Veramani, Sikapadang Samadhiyami. So that's singing, playing music, and dancing. And so those are all things that you do with your body. So that's the 7th precept, and then the 8th precept becomes what was the second part of the 7th precept before. That's mala, ganda, vilepana, dharana. That's adornments. So wearing bracelets, necklaces, earrings, makeup, all that. You already don't do any of those things. So, but also like things like wearing scented unguents and all sorts of things like that. Then, so we're not beautifying or adorning our body in any way. We want to be clean and look after ourselves, and that's just good enough for practice. So not needing to spruce ourselves up really in any way, and just good enough to look after the holy life. Then the Ujjasayana, Mahasayana, refraining from lying on higher luxurious sleeping places. The Buddha has us on a bed no longer than legs bigger than 8 finger breadths. And so we lie down either on the floor or on low beds, just not something that's considered high and luxurious. And I usually like to talk about this precept in terms of for the Tudong Kamatana monks it was said that a great Kamatana monk, you would go into his kuti and you wouldn't know where he lies down. So that it would just be, maybe you just have a simple mat that you just roll out and then you roll it up in the morning, or a thermarest or something like that, you wouldn't have your really kind of well-prepared sleeping place set out. So just not focusing too much on just getting the best possible sleep, although we do want to get enough sleep and good sleep, but just to not focus on it too much. And then the Jata Rupa Rajata Padikahana, that's refraining from receiving or using money. So because you've already don't really have any money, it's not a problem, and so you're able to live in that very free, very liberating way without having assets, and just move through the world without having to think and proliferate about money. It's a huge burden off the mind. You can focus more fully on meditation practice, on Dhamma practice. So yeah, you've done well as an Anagarika, and you've conducted yourself well in a praiseworthy manner. So now it's fitting that you're wearing the brown robes of the novice, and so I say sadhu anumodana to your years in Anagarika, and also good riddance to those whites. You can just learn about something new now, and I think it'll at least there will be inevitable difficulties, but I think you'll find it probably enjoyable learning about the alms round and the bowl and all of these new requisites. And it's hard to make it through the Anagarika year. I would say the attrition rate now is probably 1 in 5 make it to novice, so it's not easy, and it does take real commitment, and that's something that's very rare these days, is making commitments. So sadhu to that, and I think you can now, the next part of the ceremony is the taking of formal dependence on myself as the teacher, but it's understood you're also taking dependence on the community, on Ajahn Sik and Ajahn Krudadamo and everybody else, Longpa, and just everybody's going to be helping look after you and foster your training as a novice. So you can go ahead and start with that part of the ceremony.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Acharyo me bante hohi ayasamato nisaya vachami. Acharyo me bante hohi ayasamato nisaya vachami. Acharyo me bante hohi ayasamato nisaya vachami.
O pai kang,
Sadhu bante.
pati rupang,
Sadhu bante.
pasadi kena sampadehi.
Sadhu bante. Ajatake dani tero marham baro aham pitera sabaro. Ajatake dani tero marham baro aham pitera sabaro. Ajatake dani tero marham baro aham pitera sabaro.
Okay, you can sit comfortably again. And so, just a few brief words on taking of dependence. Read out the translation of what you just chanted. It's Acharyo me bante hohi ayasmato nisaya wachami. That's just, please be my teacher, Venerable Sir. May I take dependence on you. Nisaya is dependence. So, and then the last part, when you were bowing over, from this day onwards, the elder will be my burden, and I shall be the burden of the elder, or the Tera. So it's this mutual give and take. We're going to look after your training, and then you'll also be looking after the Sangha in various ways. And so that's for us senior monks, for myself, that's the priority, is if you need anything, you have invitation to ask. And if you need any requisites or would like guidance, then we give that as a priority. So don't feel shy to ask for guidance when you feel like you need it. And some people might feel like they don't need guidance; they're able to look after themselves. But sometimes it may come up that you need some sort of guidance. So you're always welcome to ask me or the other Ajahns if you need help. And also about the novice ordination, it's the second gate. The first gate is the Anagarika, second gate is novice, third gate is the bhikkhu ordination. So you've now passed through the second gate of ordination, and you get a new name. So sort of drum. You can imagine a drum roll. But I'll let you say your name. I won't say your name yet. But because the name is actually based on Thai astrology, the first letter of the name, and we do it based on that. So I have a whole book that I have to refer to and check, based on the day of the week you were born. So you were born on the 15th day of the waning moon in the second month of the year of the tiger. So based on that, then you get your name. So you can check out your new name. And you can say it, yeah.
Devasiri.
Devasiri. Devasiri is your name.
Devasiri.
Yeah.
And that means brilliant splendor.
Brilliant splendor is I checked with one of our Pali scholars, Venerable Amarasiri, so now we have another Siri, so Devasiri. Checked with Venerable Amasiri about the name Devasiri and possible translations, and we came up with that one. So Deva means, Deva is like a celestial being, Buddhist angel, but also it means bright one. So, and then Siri means excellent, or it can mean splendor. So it can mean spiritual splendor, bright splendor, heavenly splendor. So brilliant splendor is kind of a nice translation for that. So that's your new name. Of course, your family is here, and they can call you RJ. You can still call him RJ if you want. Legally, he's still RJ. So we're not legally changing your name yet.
Okay.
Yet, yeah. I haven't legally changed my name yet. So, but in the monastery, we'll refer to you as Devasiri for the time being. So yeah, that completes the ordination. And if you want, you can now you could go back to your seat, and we'll end the evening with the verses of sharing and inspiration.